We're good.
Hi, I'm Wendy with Rise and Shine Pilates and Wellness, and today we're bringing you a basic mat workout that you can do at home. So you don't need any equipment, maybe just a nice little mat to give you a little extra cushion, and besides that, you're ready to go. So let's get started today. I'm going to go ahead and start off laying down. So we're stretching the legs all the way away from you, thinking about the toes pointing to the wall opposite you, and then bringing your arms up overhead. So as we get into this position, we're just thinking about putting space in between each of your vertebrae. Imagine each one of your vertebrae in their line, and we just want to let them kind of puff back out, those discs in between puff back out. So the crown of the head is reaching up to one direction, and the toes are reaching the opposite. And we're going to work to try to keep those ribs knitted down. A lot of times when we bring the arms up over the head, we may bring the rib cage up, but we want to close it down, so we're using our abdominals. We're going to pull that rib cage back down to the mat. Good. After this nice long stretch, we're going to just go ahead and move your fingertips to your rib cage so we can begin our breathing practice. So some of us have shoulders that are a little bit forward rolling, and we want to work to bring them back down to the mat. We call this retracting the shoulder blades. The fingertips are just going to go right to the rib cage, and we're going to take a deep inhale, expanding those ribs out to the side. Filling those lungs all the way up with good oxygen there. And then exhaling, the ribs are knitting in and down. So it's an inhale, ribs expanding out to the side, and then exhale, closing in and down. So your fingertips are going to open and close. Good. So this helps warm up those intercostals. This exhale through our pursed lips is using our diaphragm as one of our muscles in the core. And we're starting to begin that core stability here. So the next piece is we're going to use that abdominal muscle that is closest to our spine. It's called the transversus abdominis, and it runs all the way around the front and the back. So one thing we do to visualize that is imagine you've got a little ball in between your belly button and your backbone, and as you exhale, you're going to draw that transversus down. So it's just an exhale, pulling that belly button to your backbone. So we still want that inhale, expanding those ribs, exhale, wrapping that deep transversus belly button draws to the backbone. So this is the basics of all of our exercise. Before we do anything, we're going to use this exhale and that wrapping. And there's one final piece to the breathing. We have a muscle that lays right at the bottom of our pelvis here. It's called the pelvic floor. And when we exhale that, we want to draw up, because that pelvic floor muscle helps amplify that contraction of your transversus. So now we have this beautiful synergy. The diaphragm's pressing down, the pelvic floor is pulling up, and the transversus is wrapping all around. So nice little anatomy lesson for you today too. Let's keep practicing that breathing, putting all those elements together. So the ribs expand, exhale through pursed lips, the transversus pulls down, the pelvic floor pulls up. So one other little example of the pelvic floor contraction is like doing a baby Kegel. So most people, or women at least, are familiar with what a Kegel is. And this is just like a 2 out of a scale of 1 to 10, with a Kegel is a 10. Let's do one more nice inhale and exhale. Very nice. All right, from here, we're going to just start to mobilize our appendages here, so our arms and legs. And we're keeping our shoulders and pelvis in a nice neutral position. So in Pilates, we're trying to keep the core stable as we work through our mobility. So first thing we're going to do is bring your fingertips up to the ceiling, stretching those toes out, keeping the hip bones anchored. Reach your fingertips up overhead, and again, we want to pull that bottom rib down so we're not arching up. Shoulders stay anchored down, and we're going to stir those arms out to the side and then up. So the whole time we're doing this, we're trying to keep any tension out of our upper traps, so we're not using the muscles in our upper neck, and instead we're using the muscles underneath our arms. So those are our shoulder stabilizer muscles. A lot of times in class we'll get a lot of tension up here in the shoulders, so we're just trying to bring awareness to that and free up any tension around those shoulder joints. So sometimes this can feel pretty rocky as you start going. All right, and now we're going to reverse it. So it's an exhale,
And then inhale as we stir those arms around. Again, exhale. And inhale, stirring those arms around. Good, reaching those fingertips all the way to the end. So everything in Pilates is long. We're always thinking about reaching as far away as you can. And final one, keeping those hips anchored down. Good, notice that my shoulders are just working to stay connected with the mat. Good, so we just got some shoulder circles in there. We're gonna go ahead and stay with our palms upward, and you can tell what that does is helps bring your shoulder blades back. So the collarbones are open to the ceiling, and we're just working in that slightly retracted position of the scapula. So from here, we're gonna go ahead and mobilize the hip joints as well. So I'm taking my right leg up into the air. My kneecap is looking straight at me rather than being rotated this way. And my hip bones are staying anchored on the mat. I'm going to start to stir that hip around. So the femur inside the hip socket is just working its way around. It's a nice little exercise here to warm up that hip joint. And you'll feel it in the quads and also in those abs. So I'm working hard to keep that left hip bone anchored down. So this is where that stability of the pelvis comes in, and we're working the obliques as well. So we don't want any rocking, we don't want that left hip to be popping up. We're really just working to keep that ease of movement in that hip joint. Sometimes you're going to make that range of motion a little bit smaller, so you can make your circle smaller if you need to. We're going to reverse it, so coming back the other direction. So it's an inhale, shh, and exhale as you start to stir it around. Good. And I'm just bringing awareness back to my shoulders, loosening my neck. You can see that I'm working really hard. It looks like it's easy, but I promise you it's not easy at all. Let's go 2 more. And last one. And then bringing that knee in and just giving it a little shake out to release it. All right, from here we're going up to the other side. So I'll start off with my knee in tabletop, keeping this hip bone anchored down, and then reaching that toe up to the ceiling. So watch my hip here. You can catch me if I'm rocking. We're just trying to keep that hip bone from rocking. So stirring that femur joint in the hip socket, working on that ease of movement of that hip. I tell my classes this is keeping you young. No hip replacements for my girls. Let's go 2 more. And last one this direction. And we'll reverse it. So we're starting to stir again that femur in the hip socket. Right hip bone stays anchored down. And if it feels pretty easy, you can start to go a little bit longer, a little bit bigger with that circle. Let's go 2 more. And last one. Very nice. Bring that knee into tabletop. We'll stretch out here and letting it release. And we'll bring the feet back down to the floor. Okay, so on our hips now, we're finding that neutral pelvis. So in the neutral pelvis, you're going to have a little bit of a curl underneath your low back. Your hip bones are going to stay parallel with the ceiling. And then we're just going to work to close that space between your low back and the mat. So we call this our imprinted spine. And then we're bringing the hip bones back up to a neutral pelvis. So in the imprinted spine, we're using the obliques. The ribs and hips are coming closer together. So the transversus and now the obliques are working. And then bringing it back up. Let's go 1 more time. Exhaling, bringing that low back down to the mat. And we're going to work through some hip rolls. So in the hip rolls, we're lifting that pelvis up off the mat and moving through our vertebrae one at a time. So we call that sequencing through the spine. Your knees are reaching all the way out when you get up here, and the crown of the head is reaching up the opposite direction. Now we're careful not to be arching the back and pushing the ribs out, so we want to keep them connected, keep those hip bones nice and neutral. Now we're going to articulate back down, so 1 vertebrae at a time like a strand of pearls. So we're pushing that bra line down, and then letting each vertebrae make its own individual connection down onto the mat, and then bringing it back out to a neutral pelvis. Let's do a few more of those. They feel really good on that low back. So inhale, prepare. Exhale, tipping into imprint, and then peeling it up 1 vertebrae at a time, stretching those knees out. My sit bones right here and under my glutes are squeezing together. And then I'm softening the breastbone, so think soft here, pushing that bra line down, and then rolling back down. And the whole time I'm trying to keep my shoulder blades open. So there's a lot going on here. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, exhale, rounding through like a strand of pearls. Our vertebrae peel off one at a time, and then come back down one at a time, pushing that bra line down. That lumbar rolls through, and then back out to the sacrum, nice and flat. 1 more. Good, reaching those knees out, and softening through, we roll it back down. Good, that sacrum gets heavy on the floor. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get going with some more of our ab work today. This one you're gonna feel. So we're bringing your knees up to tabletop. We're gonna take the back into that imprint position, so the pelvis is tipped back, and then the left knee comes back up to tabletop. So we're hugging the knees and ankles together, and my low back is touching the mat. Now, what happens sometimes is we start to grip underneath the shoulder blades. So we want to keep the shoulders nice and wide, and the thoracic spine is touching the mat. So the part of your spine that's between your shoulder blades is your thoracic spine. So that's being pressed down. All right, let go of any tension you might be feeling in your shoulders and neck. We always want to bring awareness right here that we're not holding anything in those upper traps. And then moving the knees out. So this is not a tabletop position with my knees forward of my hips. We want to move them out, and that challenges your abdominals more. So of course we want that. So the lumbar is pressing down. A little inhale to prepare, and exhale, we're chin nod, bring those hands right up to the side. Good, now from here again, I'm keeping my shoulders soft, and we're going into a classical Pilates move called the 100. So we're starting to pump those arms. So the breathing pattern on this one is inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Shh. 20. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Shh. 30. Curl up higher. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 40. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 50. Notice that my arms aren't shaking all over. My body's not shaking. And that's 60. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 70. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 80. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Shh. 90. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull that transversus down on the last set of hundreds, and we always hold here and control it, curling up just a little bit higher, and then we bring it all the way back down, giving those knees a hug. We'll rock it out side to side. Great job. That is a tough move. That's an endurance move, so we're going for a long period of time with those abs working, those abs turned on. All right, I'm going to come back into my tabletop position, keeping my lumbar connected onto the mat, and bringing my hands behind my head. When you first get started with Pilates, a lot of times the thing that's the most sore is your neck, because we're not used to holding our head up at an angle like this on the floor. So you can get a lot of tension up there in the neck, and one way to prevent that is just to make a soft little hammock out of your hands for your head to rest into. We want to bring the shoulder blades away from your ears. So rather than the shoulders being up like this, you want to pull them away. I'll tell my classes, imagine you've got a grapefruit between your shoulder and your ear. So we're going to do a little chin nod, so lengthening the back of the neck. Come on up to a curl here. Exhale, and then bringing it back down. So just a regular little crunch. As you can see, I'm working pretty hard. And lower it back down. You might see me shaking today. That's okay. I just taught a class. Inhale, exhale, pulling those ribs down towards your hip bones. So kind of imagine an arrow of the ribs going down to your hips. And every time that transversus is drawing down. So you exhale, pull that belly button to your backbone. Let's go for 4. And release. Exhale, 3. Imagine you're articulating that spine back down to the mat. 2 more. Very nice. And final one. We're going to hold it here, scooping that pelvis just a little bit when I get a little bit of a leg extension. So those toes are reaching out. My low back is touching down to the mat. And you can see I'm not letting my abs pop. This would be letting my abs pop. So I'm pulling them down. Bring it back in. And it's exhale. Press it out. Think about elbows going to the corners of the room. So let's push through this. Let's go 8. Exhale, 7. up to my backbone. Very nice. Bring those knees back in and we'll lower the chest back down to the floor. Taking one foot at a time back into the floor, to the mat. All right, now I want to work the obliques a little bit. So I'm trying to maintain a neutral pelvis as long as my feet are touching the floor. So we have a general rule. If your legs are up in the air, you're going to go imprint, both legs. If your legs are on the floor, you're going to maintain neutral. All right, from here, I'm going to extend my right arm up, keeping those hip bones anchored on the mat. I'm going to take this right arm up over my left thigh. So think about your sternum going right past your thigh in a diagonal line. And we bring it back up. So it's exhale, up and over. Now notice that this hip stays down. I don't want you to shift your weight and let that hip curl up. So that right hip bone's pushing down in the mat and this left oblique is working as I squeeze up. That's it. Let's go for 6. And 5. Keeping that hip bone anchored down on the right side. 4. Every time that transversus is pulling in, belly button to backbone. 3. Exhale, 2. And watching those ribs, don't let them pop up like this. Keep them down. Last one, and we're going to hold it here. We always like to hold it for a pulse. So pushing that hip bone down, pulse it up for 8, 7. Just reaching beyond that thigh. 5. Pulling that transversus down. 3 and 2 and last one. And bringing that spine back down to the mat. We'll switch sides. So right hand goes behind my head. I'm trying to keep those ribs knitted down. And my left arm's going up overhead. Again, inhale, prepare. Exhale. Hand goes right past that thigh. And lowering it back down. So ribs are sliding to the hips. Keeping my left hip bone down on the mat now. I'm not letting my body roll. Here's a good giveaway for that. If your knees start to push over to one side, then you know that you're twisting in that pelvis a little bit. Let's go for 4. Great. Keeping that breathing in mind. That's your secret weapon. My pelvic floor is lifting. My transversus is wrapping. Got 2 more. And on my final one, I'm going to hold it here and pulse it out for 8, 7, 6, 5. Belly button to the backbone. 4. And 3, 2, and last one, and returning back down to the mat. Nice work. So I know your abs are probably feeling it there, but we're going to kick in just a little bit more ab work today. So from here, I'm going to bring both knees into tabletop position. So my spine is going into imprint. Remember, if both legs are up in the air, then the lumbar spine is going down. That's your little key. All right, from here, we're going to do our bicycle. So it's a chin nod to lengthen the crown of the head and come on up to your curl. And we're going to bring our right hand on top of your knee as you stretch out that left. So what I'm trying to do is close the space between my ribs and thighs. So I'm coming up a little bit higher in my curl if I can without bringing my shoulders up so your neck stays nice and relaxed. So we're just going to do a little knee change here. Notice I'm stretching all the way to the end of my opposite toe. Reaching long. Again, everything in Pilates is long. We want to reach long out of that toe. So it's really out of the hip. That's it. Curling up. 8 and 7. 6. Every exhale, you're pulling that transversus down. 4 and 3 and 2 and last one. We're moving straight into another move now. So my right leg's straight up in the air. My left leg's just hovering above the mat. My right hands, or both hands, go behind my thighs. So again, I'm trying to curl that space between my ribs and thighs. I'm working hard here, and we're going to pulse. 3, 2, and 1, and switch sides. Notice I'm not jutting my chin out to get up there, and I'm not hiking my shoulders. I'm staying in this C-shaped curl here. 2, 1, and switch. 3, 2, 1, and switch. 3, 2, 1, and switch. It's okay if you can't get your shoulders this high when you first start. 1, and switch. 3, 2, 1. This is a killer. All my classes really feel like these scissors are a tough one. And last one. 3, 2, and 1. Very nice. Bringing both legs back up into the air. We're going to lower back down and move straight into another workout here, another exercise. So closing the ribs. This is our last move. We're going to exhale, bring those fingertips beyond your hips, and lower it back down. That's it, keeping that spine long. You can imprint here as well. Your legs are up. Let's go for 4. Belly button to your backbone, chin nod, 3. And 2 more, trying to keep those ribs from hopping on the return. Last one, we're gonna hold it here. It's our last exercise, pulsing it out for 8. Curl up higher, 7. Belly button down, 6. Lifting the pelvic floor, 3, and 2, and last one. Nice job, bringing those knees back down to tabletop and returning them to the floor. All right, that was a really hardcore introduction to some of the ab work, so we just wanted to introduce you to some really basic moves in the Pilates repertoire. So thanks